As Fabrizio Romano loves to say, here we go, the Pixel 10 is officially official. What's it deal? What they like to use? And is this the Pixel 9S in all but name? Well, hold your horses and I'll get into that in just a second. Just quickly do me a solid first though and tap that little subscribe button for a bit more Pixel, a bit more Google stuff and a bit more fun in your subscriptions feed. Cheers. Leaks definitely haven't helped this year. There's absolutely no shocks with the lineup this time around. We have the base Pixel 10, the Pixel 10 Pro, the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. But you knew this going into this video anyway. Let's start with that base model, the Pixel 10, because I've got to say, I think this is the most interesting, at least in my humble opinion. In terms of upgrades, well, I'm going to call them changes because that is probably a better term. It has the most on the phone side. So the big difference is the inclusion of a 5x optical zoom lens, which means yes, you won't be suffering from poor quality zoom photos, at least in the very near future. We haven't been able to fully test this just yet, but it is a big step forward for Google's base model. However, it is tempered a little bit as it does get some downgrades. Yes, you did hear me correctly. The other devices or the other lenses on this device are the exact same as the Pixel 9a, which is a little bit of a downgrade and it could be a deal breaker for some of you out there. Google, I guess they give you one hand and takes with the other. As for the device itself, the weight and balance, I have to say, they feel no different in the hands of the Pixel 9, to be completely transparent with you. The same does apply to the Pixel 10 Pro, the 10 Pro XL and 10 Pro Fold. That's just my opinion. There is some minor differences by a few grams, but they felt no different to me. I think maybe the brushed sides on the regular 10 feel a little bit more grippy. And I do love that Google went back, or at least went all in on bringing back the Indigo colorway. It's the most striking of the entire lineup. It definitely stands out massively compared to the others. And we kind of all know that that is a good color that people are probably going to want. You tell me though, I could potentially think it's too bright, as the phone itself is going to go in a case anyway, so it doesn't really matter what color you choose. I can kind of see that argument as well, but that is definitely the standout device this year. Make no mistake about it. Let's get some of the other boring bits out of the way. We have Gorilla Glass Victus 2 front and back. That includes the Pixel 10 Pro series as well. You finally get USB 3.2 on that USB port, which is long overdue. There are some other upgrades as well, but there is a strange one here. In the US, it's actually coming without a SIM slot. Yes, you heard that me correctly. That applies to all Pixel 10 handsets within the United States. You will need an eSIM for devices in the US as a result of that, whereas in the rest of the world, we get physical SIM and eSIM support. So yeah, if you want a physical SIM, probably gonna have to import one if you are out there in the US. Other changes to the Pixel 10, this has Wi-Fi 6E. There's no Wi-Fi 7 here, where it is available on the 10 Pro lineup. It has a slightly lesser Exynos 5400 modem as well. So I do think connectivity might be, well, it might not be all that different in the real world, but it does mean that there are some downgrades here. We haven't been able to test this at this stage, but that's on the stat pads or the stat stack for this device, if you can actually say that. It also has Pixel Snap included. I will get into that in just a second though, later on this video. We'll go a little bit more in depth about that. As for the screen, all the screens across all of the Pixel 10 series are around about 200 nits or so brighter. So the Pixel 10 has a 3000 nit peak. The screen itself on the base model is 6.3 inches, 120 Hz, ultrasonic fingerprint scanner included. I do think it is a nice upgrade over the Pixel 9a and it keeps things a little bit more it goes up in steps, but maybe that main camera downgrade is going to make it a little bit of a strange follow-up to the Pixel 9. It's probably the only confusing change that I've seen, and I'm probably going to main this actual device for a little while, as I tend to stick with the base model Pixel anyway. Always nice to see the cheapest mainline phone get some upgrades, but it's always interesting as well to see how it performs after a few months. Now to the Pixel 10 Pro and Pro XL. I think these are probably going to be the main event, and they're a little bit more by the numbers, at least as far as Pixel devices go. We get exactly the same visual elements as the Pixel 9 Pro and 9 Pro XL. Most of the changes we are seeing in these devices are in the software stack. So some of them include camera functions, which are available on the base 10. That includes Camera Coach, which I do think looks like a really solid way to improve your photography. Am I going to use it? Gotta say probably not. But I kind of want to know from my own photos how I can improve them. So I 100% see some value for people out there who want to pick up the fundamentals of photography, and in practice, it is really impressive to see those prompts in real time. ProRes Zoom now works up to 100x on the Pro models. I love this. It's not going to look good at the 100x zoom, but even with those AI image algorithms working overtime, but damn, is it not fun to play around with on other phones that have this? One thing I did notice as well is when using the Pro model specifically, I didn't get to test this on the regular base model, image processing is still not instant, but it definitely seemed a lot faster than previous generations, or it definitely felt that way from where I was stood. I think that could be a really big upgrade, and I'm excited to test this out for myself. We can't get too much into Tensor G5 because, well, you can't really infer performance after just, well, 15, 20, 30 minutes with each device. But yeah, there are some times where I think the upgraded storage, UFS 4.0 storage, definitely feels like it's tugging things on at a little bit higher speeds than its predecessor. All of this applies to that regular Pixel 10 as well, so the chip and storage are the same across the board there. What little I have done with these phones in a closed session felt really, really good. Magic Q is arguably the biggest software talking point on the Pixel 10 series, and I think this feels like the realist assistant that doesn't maybe get in the way of what you're doing, if that makes sense to you. So effectively, as long as you have lots of links to your Google accounts in apps like Google Messages, Magic Q can pull from things like the Calendar app for event info or even times of when things are going to happen when someone messages and asks you about them. It can even do things like pull flight info when you call an airline. According to Google's own demos of this, it's not quite as forced from the little demos I've seen, but it feels more like an aid rather than being shoehorned in. Then again, we're yet to test this out fully for ourselves, and we'll know in a few weeks whether it's good or bad. I'm saving my full judgment for then. I have a feeling this could really be the most natural integration for AI that we've seen for some time on a mobile phone, saving you hassle, saving time. I think that's not just being a chatbot or generating images, which I think a lot of AI is effectively at this point in time. Other AI-powered or Gemini-powered features include Daily Hub. I think of this as like Discover Feed, but more tailored to what you actually do. Effectively a bit like a Google Now and Assistant Snapshot reborn or merged together. In fact, it really reminds me of the Now Brief on Galaxy phones, but with a bit more detail. Just a little bit of weather, some stuff coming up in your calendar, that kind of thing. It integrates as well with media applications like Pocket Casts for your podcast or YouTube Music, which means you might even get some things based upon the stuff that you're already doing, or you may even get things based upon previous searches on Google, that kind of thing, which really ties it all together. I'm really excited to try this one out for myself. Pixel Journal, I think, is a more hands-on journaling application that Google is partnering or pushing in their devices this year. You can catalog your thoughts, track goals, and this feels like the Google equivalent of Apple's journal application, but obviously with more Gemini tacked on and thrown in there. I'm not sure I'd really use this personally, but I think it's a really nice looking application, and lots of people out there will be excited to try this out for themselves, I'm sure of that. So the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, this is the final smartphone in the lineup, and I personally spent the least amount of time with this one. It's a very similar handset to last year's foldable. In fact, I actually don't know if there's that much here that I would be too excited by if I already had that one. What's new on this device? Well, the biggest is an IP68 rating, and this is the first foldable to come with that, which I think is pretty awesome. It is a hair thicker to account for that extra probably protection, plus the magnets from Pixel Snap, aka MagSafe for Pixel. Yep, that's here as well out of the box, which is always a really nice feature as well. The battery is also way bigger. That probably accounts for extra thickness as well at over 5,000 mAh. All the camera sensors are the same as last year. You get two new colors. I think they're a little bit more vibrant, but yeah, they're not the most vibrant options. The outer display is a little bit bigger at 6.4 inches, and the internal bezels are marginally smaller, but I couldn't really tell in person. But it is nothing really groundbreaking, just very slight upgrades. Little tiny steps in the right direction, I'd call it. The only thing hurting this is that October release. It is a weird way to do it, but yeah, it is what it is. The big major update across all of the devices though has to be Pixel Snap in my opinion. Pixel Snap really feels long overdue. Name aside, this is just MagSafe. It's going to change the accessory ecosystem drastically for Pixel phones, and I think that's a really good thing. And maybe later down the line when Android or lots of other Android phones adopt this. Like everything we tested that works on iPhone, works absolutely fine here. The new Pixel Snap charger is a really nice addition. I'm excited to get one of these myself. It is just a puck in a heavy base. It's nothing special, but it is the new Pixel stand. I love the design. I love it. I love the fact that it looks more sturdy than it actually looks initially as well, which is always a nice bonus. You can pick up a case that adds these in. Hopefully we might see some options that come to Pixel 9 series, but there was no word on that, and I can't imagine that happening. So you do get magnets on the outer device and on some of the first-party cases as well. I think this is going to be a really big boon for the Pixel 10, especially if you're using your phone caseless, and we're just getting way more utility across the board. The extra accessory is a Pixel ring stand. I think that feels like another great addition, an homage to the Pixel stand or the Pixel tablet case, which has a ring stand as well. Really nice in person, and I was really excited to see what Google might do with this later down the line. So I know that's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, and laying all of this out feels like little intricate bits are starting to feel properly realised with the Pixel 10 lineup, or the Pixel lineup period, if you want to put it like that. Let's not sugarcoat it though. there is an air of the Pixel 9S or 9T or 9 Plus or whatever you want to call this particular release. Tensor G5 is still our biggest question mark right now. We haven't been able to fully test it or put it through its paces. I'm just wondering, is this going to be a leap or a bit more of a bump? I really, really want to know, and we will be testing things out once we get a proper extended period with the Pixel 10 series. I'm sorry this isn't a deep dive, but it's more of an overview with some light impressions thrown in. I think it would be unfair to give you anything other than initial thoughts though, as it's almost impossible to decipher between 1 and 4 devices in 15 to 20 minutes of playtime with each of them. If you do have a question, let us know down in the comment sections below. Also, tell me which device you like the look of most down there as well, because yeah, I'm interested in that base model. I'm excited to see what this does or what it doesn't do when I get one in my hands in the coming weeks. But cheers for watching, hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I will catch you very, very soon.